Welcome to our Line Opinion panelists for the week. We're happy to be joined by, in studio by the way, Serge Martinez. He's a professor at the UNM School of Law. We're also joined today by two former New Mexico State senators, always a big deal. Senator Dianne Snyder right here on this side of the table. Senator Dede Feldman right over here on the other side beside Serge. Great to see you all. Now let's get going here. Our first topic today concerns public safety. A unique local approach to community policing was highlighted this month by the New Yorker, that's a magazine in case you don't know, as the national publication wrote about the Albuquerque Community Safety Responders. Fairly new city department created in 2020, that's pretty new. ACS has 54 full-time behavioral health crisis responders who mostly field calls related to mental health and homelessness that previously would have gone, Senator Stein, I'm going to start with you, to police officers or other first responders. And we're talking 1,500 911 calls a month. It's amazing. Of the more than 20,000 total calls they've responded to, less than 1% required eventual police involvement. And let me stop there. This was brought up years ago that we don't always need people with guns and batons and uniforms and, handling mental health issues. How do you like this program? Is this how you see it?
Well, it goes back to, you say it's been on the forefront of discussion for many years. Back when I worked with the Emergency Physicians Association, that was one of the things they talked about and they were putting in place additional training, which I never saw publicized any place, but there were specialty people. They were still paramedics, but they were going out when it was more a behavioral health issue, rather than sending a complete ambulance and stuff. Now they had a big van kind of thing, so that if there was a true emergency, physical emergency of some kind, it would provide. And the whole idea goes back to how few and what a shortage of medical professionals we have in New Mexico, which is really a whole big different story. But this was my first affiliation with it, to understanding that you don't need a police officer every time. Now, I think it places a burden on the person, the 911 operator, helping do things. And as I saw, it looks like it pops up, and these not licensed, what is it called?
Sure.
Not police officers. The
ACS folks, yeah.
The ACS, thank you. That they look at it and say, okay, I can do this. They have become very familiar with certain things in certain people and recurring instances. The main thing that I see it doing is it frees up officers to go to, our violent crime and our residential crime is so high right now. We need those people who have that ability and the weapons, if necessary, to go out and do it. Now, as I understand, these people are well trained, and which one of the things they're trained on is how to make the decision: do they need to escalate it up to the next level? I think that's very important. But let
me cut in just for a quick second, Senator, because I got something else for you here in a quick second. I want to get to Senator Feldman on this. Civilian staff are doing internal investigations as well as assisting with criminal investigations. That's not for the layperson. If you get my drift here, law enforcement is a fairly, you got to have something behind you to be able to do these kind of things. Does that make you uncomfortable, knowing there were people doing this kind of work?
Well, the police themselves don't like doing that work.
That's a good point.
And so, they would rather be out on the street. And so, it seems to me that there's a lot of people in the criminal justice field that can do that kind of investigation. Private investigators, even students who are studying criminal justice at UNM, and many others. So it doesn't bother me. I think it's really a good idea to free up the police. We're not ever going to have, 1,300 police, as they say we really need.
Let me interrupt you there. Is that the point? Have we come to some kind of reality about our recruitment possibilities here? In this program, is just an acknowledgement of a reality. We're not going to get to that 1,300 or 1,400 number.
I've heard the mayor say that.
Yeah.
I've heard the mayor say that, and he says, we need to use creative technological fixes as well as civilians, technological fixes like speed cameras so that police don't have to be, doing traffic stops and, all kinds of other. They have this shot spotter now that can be used. That's a technological fix.
That's right.
License plate readers, that kind of thing. So I think it all makes sense, and I think it's all very doable. They need to fund it, though. They need to fund it well.
all things
I
in
mean,
New
it's just
Mexico.
getting off the ground.
That's right.
It's just getting off the
Can I
ground.
just add one quick thing in?
Sure.
Is doing the research on media, Facebook, Twitter, all those kinds of things. That work has to be done by somebody. So have the officers out on the street with crime, and even I can go and do research. Like I'm not applying.
Well,
but,
you might be recruited for saying that. On Senator's point, Serge, these folks make up the Digital Intelligence Team, which is a unit they created in the past couple of years to assist detectives in combing through social media, analyzing phone data and video, and they're also filling in positions on the auto theft unit, which is a big deal, as bait car technicians in the crime lab. There's a lot of crime nerds out there, and I use that respectfully. Citizens, and what I mean by that is citizens who want to contribute to the betterment of our, society here in Albuquerque. And they are very supportive of the police. They want to be associated with the police department. You see what I mean? Yeah. Why is this not a good thing to allow regular citizens to pitch in and do their thing here?
But, you and I both know that there's probably, probably most of these people are probably well-meaning and will want to do the right thing. There's probably some, we might say, cowboys out there who are like, yoo-hoo,
Could happen.
right? And would maybe get a little bit drunk with that authority or power. But generally, I think, the more we move away from this idea that police officers must do all things at all times and be responding, as we've talked about, right, to mental health issues, to traffic stops, to a cat up in a tree, right, to doing all the stuff that you don't really need. Like, they're trained to respond to really tense, possibly potentially violent situations, right? But there's a lot that doesn't require that, and I think it's great to be thinking about different ways that we can be, allocating the responsibilities and resources in our system.
That's right.
One way that other cities have tackled this is to give the fire department more authority. Firemen are really trusted by the populace rather than police officers who have had some problems. And so in cities like Santa Fe and elsewhere around the country, they're using paramedics. And remember, firemen are EMTs. Many of them. And so they can handle some of these calls that, remember, 911 calls, it's a question of diversion, as Diane says. And it's also a question of diversion from the emergency rooms, because they need to have people appropriately treated outside of the emergency room so that the behavioral health problems, the homeless problems, the alcoholics are not just calling 911 because they want to get a hot meal at the hospital.
That's right.
There are these vehicles now, like in Santa Fe, there's a mobile health unit. And the mobile health unit includes a fireman, includes a behavioral health specialist, includes a social worker, sometimes includes a pharmacist. And they go out and they respond to calls as they are diverted to them. They are specializing in street people who are on the street. Some other units like this specialize in isolated elderly people who call 911 because they have fallen and need to be picked up. They don't need to go to the emergency room. They just need to be settled.
That's right. Let me get a couple things in. We've just got about a minute here. I want to start with Senator Snyder. Chief Medina is very supportive of this. The president of the Albuquerque Police Department Union is not. Sean Willoughby has had some tough quotes about this, meaning, sworn police officers' job to civilians will, quote, blow up in this police department's face, end quote. Is he being over the top here? Does he have a legit point, or?
It's interesting because
Yeah.
I tried to reach a couple of retired police officers that I know to see what the objections were, and I didn't. And I almost gave up and called Sean this morning, but I didn't quite understand why he had those thoughts.
Right.
Everything, I will say, everything, every new program we start can possibly blow up.
That's a good point.
But to me, it goes back to that training. You've got to train the people who are out doing this so we don't end up with one of the cowboys out on the street.
That's right. ACLU is supportive. This is a lot of interesting bedfellows here for this idea. It's very interesting.
Well,
yeah, please.
I don't know that it's going to affect the conduct of police when it comes to brutality or shootings.
Right. Which is what they were inferring, the ACLU, when they talked about this program, that it will bring some transparency to the blues, so to speak. Not quite sure.
But it also might prevent a lot of
That's right.
calls and crime.
That's an
Right, if
interesting
you're
point there.
dealing with the mental
Yeah.
capacity
That's right.
issues,
That's right.
then maybe that doesn't become a threat.
Interesting there. Thanks to our line opinion panel for that one. We'll meet back here in about 10 minutes to talk about legislation under consideration that would protect reproductive and gender affirming health care coverage around the state.